excited. Wow, we're crossing the globe. How's that? Kristen and I came together and we were introduced by a mutual contact, and we realized that this person recognized that we had great synergy, great alignment to the things that we do. And when Kristen and I started talking, I get goosebumps now. Look, the hair standing up on my arm going, wow, such fantastic learning and sharing of information. So Kristen's got her own business called Heal Anywhere, and you can tell us, we're going to hear a little bit more about it in a moment. So we're going to read a little bit of a blurb around Kristen. So she believes that we can use our mind, thoughts, sound, and the natural environment to help ourselves grow and heal in a variety of ways. Kristen teaches the importance of understanding that when we are working with sound, we are working with energy, the transmission and distribution of energy. And when this energy in the form of vibration encounters our nervous system, and I know we're going to talk about our nervous system, emotions become activated with intention and focus. Intention and focus. We can direct that energy to the emotions we want to activate. And both of us have come from really highly stressful, energetic corporate worlds and transformed that. And we've learned how it's easy to adopt very simple, useful strategies to apply immediate calm, clarity, and alignment. And that's a really important word there, that we're going to talk about that too as well, how simple and immediate it can be. We both delight in understanding the science behind what is once considered flaky and esoteric. And I'm talking about both of us now, but this is where there's the similarity. So you're in San Francisco, I'm in Alice Springs in Australia. So this is where we cross the globe and our minds coming together is cosmic. So, and you've had a continued practice of Yuveda. I can't say it. Yuveda yoga. It's a type of yoga, isn't it?
Yuveda. It's a philosophy and almost like a medical practice. It's a lifestyle out of the Hindu India family.
And you see, I've done the other spectrum, which we talked about, which was doing Tai Chi. So there's similarities, and this is what we're going to talk about more, is about that flow of energy, of breath, of harnessing that energy within your body, breathing, sound, and all of those things. So, all right, so and most people in this group or that are following me will know a bit about me, but I've studied with the Stress Management Institute and to learn about the science of stress. And it's great when we bring that similar knowledge together, which we're going to talk about as well. You were an international business consultant working for a Swedish-based company, but you now have a private practice of sound healing and holistic coaching. Did I get that right?
Yeah, but I'm still doing both.
Are you? You're still doing both? So you're still in that corporate world?
I am. In fact, all week long, I have been facilitating workshops beginning at 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
So it's, it's a lot, but it's like you and I were talking before the call. You follow where your passion takes you, and if it gets a little messy sometimes, that's okay.
You go where you follow and this is what we're going to talk about as well, isn't it? Where you're following your intuition and you become more aligned and more aware and heightened to what's going on in your body and in your world and what you're attracting, the energy, where it's aligned and not aligned. And it's interesting too, and I want to find it, one of the questions I want to ask you, or maybe we can talk about it now, is how we're bringing this holistic knowledge into that corporate world. I know for me that I'll do things that are people can embrace it, and then I'll go and take it into a very staid corporate space. Like, for example, mindfulness in business. I'll take Buddhist philosophies and take it into a corporate world, and people think that it's new and out there, but it's actually ancient wisdom.
Absolutely. Sound healing, which is my main healing modality that I work with, is ancient. It's been around. I mean, sound was the first essence that we came in touch with when we came into life. So the work that you and I are doing has been around for a long time. What I would say regarding the corporate world is that the old belief system of pushing yourself hard and self-sacrifice is just falling by the wayside globally. And there are a few silver linings from this pandemic. I just want to name that. There's a lot of horrific things that people are working through, and I honor that. And I also want to say that focusing on the silver linings, it's that the corporate illusion, ego, pushing self-sacrifice belief system in the corporate world is starting to fall down. And that doesn't mean people aren't working hard and being efficient and companies aren't being productive and reinventing themselves. That's the interesting thing. But because people are working at home, there is more of a human side to people coming out. You can't leave your personal life and put on your suit and walk into these imaginary four walls of a corporate world and pretend like you have everything together, which, to be perfectly honest, is what all of us, including myself at times, have done. Because we're working from home, because we all have been facing very difficult situations, it's very hard to be on a Zoom call, no matter how important the business call is, without having a rabbit, a dog, or a child jump on that Zoom call, right? And it's just making us all more human. And I think what a lot of us are realizing is work is still getting done. In fact, it's getting done and even more, where a lot of us are working harder, we're working longer, but we're also finding what we really need. And I think there's a lot more trust.
Can I tell you a funny story? And do you know what I love about people working from home is that the animals, the family, the children are coming into that space. I was on a Zoom business call with a business associate of mine. He was working from home. He's in Melbourne, and in Australia, Melbourne has been in really significant lockdown. The rest of the country has had freedom, but and it's been really hard on people's well-being. Anyway, we're on this Zoom call, and it was 7:30, like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was still waking up and getting into my business head. And he said to me, really alarmed, he goes, "Look out, you're about to get cat's bum." And I went, "What?" And this cat, so if this is the camera, the cat just came in like that, walking past like that. And so you can imagine, that's the cat's bum, like that. And it just broke that business atmosphere. I just burst into laughter. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm awake now. Cat's bum's waking me up."
That is hilarious. We're all experiencing these things.
Yeah.
But it's not, from my experience, working more than 40 hours a week easily, it's not stopping work. Many people are working smarter, more efficient, because when you have some time and your children are asleep or they're away or you've got them busy with doing something, you have to get the job done because it's not going to be there in 2 hours.
So whether we're in that Zoom space or whether we're in a boardroom, how do we bring that energy management? Because you and I have talked about how simple it is. So what are the ways that we manage our energy and become aware of our energy in those corporate spaces, or in those spaces where it's perhaps not as comfortable, or we have to be somebody different?
Absolutely. It's a great question. First of all, you have to start before you enter the boardroom or before you turn on the Zoom call. You must. And first of all, I always recommend in the morning, even if it's 2 minutes, even if it's going and sitting on the toilet and closing the bathroom door from your family and putting on some music that helps you calm down, do what you got to do. But so it starts before you go in, number one. Number two, how would be first thing in the morning, try and spend a few minutes and think about your day. Pull out your schedule and say, not how do I want to control these meetings, not what do I want to get out of those meetings, because that's not all up to you. There's other people. It's what emotion and feeling do I want to bring? Am I leading this meeting? Am I coming in and being creative and we're designing? Am I listening and studying and learning? What role am I playing and how do I want to feel? And if you can start your morning, that is very powerful because you're putting that vibration out there. As you start to feel it, you're tapping into it already. The other thing I would say is right before you get on a call, pull out a Post-it note and remind yourself, what do I want to get out of this call? How do I want to feel? Step into that energy before you click the start button. And that will make a world of difference, because if you walk in clear on how you want to show up, everyone will see and feel that.
And then even at a practical sense, even at the most practical sense in the corporate world, when I'm teaching people about administrative things, one of the things when I'm talking about meetings, I teach people how to write minutes, for example, and I say, you can have the biggest, most formal meeting and formal minutes, or it can be a meeting between two people. But either way, you have to have clarity around your intention. Like, what do I want to get out of this, and be very clear and have that prepared before you go into the space. So even at a practical level, we have to do that in terms of us getting the most out of that situation.
Absolutely. And think about the opposite. If you don't, Barbara, you're living by default.
You're being reactive, aren't you?
Exactly. The most powerful practice we can practice is choose to respond, not react. And if you don't come in clear on who you want to be and how you want to present yourself and the energy you want to bring, you're living by default. And then you get upset because your brain synced and got hijacked and your energies got hijacked by someone else when you didn't even know what you wanted when you walked in. Where's your accountability and responsibility for yourself? Right? And so I wanted to paint the picture for the opposite. It's like, if you don't do this, you are going to get sucked into other people's energies. And then you get frustrated and you wonder why, and you go down the rabbit hole and you spiral, right? But own it. Own it when you walk in. Even if you are confused, you haven't had time to prepare, that's clarity, right?
Yeah.
You can walk like, you know what? I am so not ready for this meeting. You don't have to say it, but at least be clear yourself so you're not blaming other people.
And I guess too, in that situation, having that awareness, you can say, I'm being open to being guided to where this needs to go, and having that flexibility. I'm grounded in my own space. I'm willing to be flexible and adaptable and adapt to the needs of that space at that time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what a powerful skill to have, again, in that corporate space as well. One of the things that I did when I was younger was study improvisation and theatre sports. In the US, there's this great show called, I think, or maybe it's Canadian, it's called Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yes.
Yeah. And so there's lots of games that there's situations where you are put in a abnormal experience and you have to adapt, and it's very funny. It's really, really funny, but it's a great skill to be able to be aware of what's going on and feel confident in that space to be flexible and adaptable. So, Kristen, what about when people, and can I just say to everybody, we've got no script, no agenda. You and I are going with the flow of what's on this is one of those situations where we've said, let's see where this takes us, where we go. What about when people have got really toxic energy? You can, and we've all been in those situations. When I'm working with people, I talk about having people emotionally or energetically vomit on us. They just go, and it feels like you're wearing it. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? And you feel like you're just covered in their gunk, their energetic gunk. What would you recommend, or how do you guard yourself again before that happens, or if it happens unexpectedly?
So first is awareness. Number one, have the awareness and name it to yourself. So that's the most important thing. The second thing is you want to remove yourself from the situation as soon as possible. Sometimes that's easier than others. If you find yourself stuck in that situation, you want to at least be aware of what's happening. And that's when it's really important to go back to your center. That's why you have to have a foundation of being clear in who you are and what you're showing up for. Because when you have the awareness of what's going on, you can put up a blockage around you. Be like, I'm not going to take this energy on. It's literally a mind game. It's so much of it is a mind game. There's a lot of energy. You can put a bubble around you, and pretend like you're not going to take on their energy. But it starts with the mind. You have to say that to yourself. So the first thing is when you start to feel heavy, when you start to notice, when your gut instinct is coming up and you're like, I don't like where this is going. I'm starting to feel heavy. This person feels like they're dumping on me. Just name it and then be like, okay, you know what? That's their stuff. It's not mine. I'm putting up like literally an invisible bubble. And I'm either going to be able to sit here for a little bit longer because, I can't leave. And I'm going to try and hold space for them, but I'm going to know that there's this boundary and everything they're saying is them, and I'm not going to take it personally. That is so important. If you can have awareness and not take it personally and put that bubble around you and be like, this is them and not me. And then number 3, you have a choice in how you're going to respond. And most importantly, if you can leave the situation and allow that person to be where they are, that is truly one of the best things. If you want to help them, you have to decide how you want to be that helper. Is it just holding space for them and allowing them? Because sometimes we all need that, right? Or is it bringing them the truth that they're not ready to hear? In which case, you definitely need some practice in how you say that, right? You want to make sure that they're ready to hear it.
Yeah.
But those 2 things are really powerful. Just having awareness and then saying, you know what, this is not mine, it's theirs. And don't take it on. Here's the important thing. If you don't step into fear, there's nothing to clean up. If you don't step into taking on heaviness, if you don't allow it on, then you have nothing to clear up. So have the awareness of what's going on, be in that truth, be clear in who you are and what you want to be like, oh, this is them. They're having a bad day. They're having, they're dealing with something very difficult. I need to choose whether or not I'm going to stay here and try and support them and keep myself protected if I have the energy to do it. And if you don't, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, can I talk with you about this tomorrow? I need to leave.
Do you know what I love about this is that, so I'm going to, it's almost identical to the training that I've had in terms of a process and approach. And what's really interesting, what you're talking about in terms of that awareness is what everybody talks about in terms of emotional intelligence. The definition of emotional intelligence is heightened awareness of not only your emotions, but the emotions of somebody else. And as you and I have talked about before, that's now a soft skill that people actually write on a job description, that you need a level of emotional intelligence in this position. You need to be aware and mindful, and businesses and organizations and corporations are recognizing how important that is, that awareness, to the point where they're now teaching it to children. I was talking to somebody doing some corporate training the other day, and we're talking about emotional awareness, and they were saying how much and this was lawyers and anthropologists and HR managers, and they were saying how they've recognized that the next generation are being taught that right from primary school and preschool, about that, identifying their emotions and incorporating that into their language. And here's where we're going to talk about this. I know you'll have insight on this, the neuroscience. Yeah. That bubble that you were talking about, you and I talked about before about the amygdala. And that's that stress gland in the brain. And I liken it to the smoke alarm in people's house. So when the smoke alarm goes off in your house, when you've burnt your toast in the kitchen, or you've burnt something, the smoke alarm's going like it's an emergency, and you have to fan it and say, it's not a fire, relax, it's not a threat. And so we can do that. The prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of our brain, we can speak to the amygdala, which is the primal part of the brain, and trick it and say, this isn't a threat. And it's that shield, so that we've got that guard where we're protected. The amygdala doesn't know the difference. Our thinking brain is putting that there, but the amygdala is going, I'm safe. I'm safe. It's energetically safe. And so there's science behind it. There's absolute, it sounds flaky to some people, but there's actually evidential science. And my mentor taught that to the police department, and it was one of their favorite tools, to be able to put that emotional guard and energetic guard so that they didn't feel post-traumatic stress from incidents of, oh, that was heavy going.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. So 3 things. Number 1, your brain doesn't know the difference between a thought and an experience. Very important. And there's a lot of science backed up about what I'm going to say. So Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, I can send you their links. You can look them up. There's a lot of science behind this. So I'm not just making this up. Your brain does not know the difference between a thought and an experience. And what's important to realize about that is we define everything that comes into our experience. One person's treasure is another person's trash. So to your point, what is dangerous is what we've been taught. We've been taught when that email comes from that supervisor, my job is on the line and I'm now scared. Well, if you got an email, Barbara, from my supervisor, you'd be like, well, I don't know this person, right? We put that label on it. So we created that. It's really important to know what we're creating. So to your point, it's very important to have a foundation. I'm just going to go back to your morning and evening rituals. Have a foundation, because when you have a foundation, you build a momentum. And that momentum is, I'm clear, I'm safe, I can take care of myself, I know who I am. And so when you build that over time, that gets very strong, right? That's the second thing. So if your thought doesn't know the difference, your brain doesn't know the difference between a thought and experience, and then you train it to always come back to you, that's really, really, really powerful. And then the third thing is, yes, there's a ton of neuroscience around how our brain takes in information, right? So when we can learn what triggers us, because what triggers me is going to be different than what triggers you. So you have to have that awareness. When you have that awareness and you're like, oh, I'm getting triggered, what tools do I have to bring myself back to my center? Is it some sound healing music? Is it walking out and picking up a leaf and touching with nature? Is it just going and removing myself and let me just sit by myself for a while? Like, there's so many tools and resources out there. And when we can do that, that's going to mitigate that stress. That's going to mitigate that amygdala from getting fired. And then we start reacting and saying things we don't want to say. And then the thing is, once we get scared and we're running from the saber-toothed tiger that the amygdala was designed for, it's really hard to pull yourself back. So you've got to get ahead of it before it happens. And as you do that, then it's very, very powerful. And you'll see when the so-and-so gets upset, or when you find yourself in these situations, you're not going along with that energy anymore, because you've built up such a strong foundation.
And what I love, again, once again, what you're saying is, I keep thinking about the tenets of science around all of this stuff. So Kelly McGonigal, in her TED talk, Make Stress Your Friend, she actually cites all the scientific evidence or research about how when you change the way you think about a situation, the physical response in terms of the way that your body responds. And she said that if you train your brain to go, this is my body supporting me, what I'm feeling is me in a power situation rather than a threat situation, your body responds in the same way that it does in moments of joy and courage. So if you change that thinking process, and the things that you said too, like going outside and touching a leaf, or again, research has shown that connecting to nature, grounding yourself, when you're doing physical exercise that's outside, that we release dopamines and we release all of those stress supporting hormones.
Well, and the reason why is our brain has many functions, but the two main functions, the biggest function is to keep us alive and to do it with the least amount of energy, because it always wants to preserve and reserve and be efficient. So it's constantly syncing to energies external. You walk into a crowded airport during the holidays and you're like, why am I suddenly so agitated? It's because you just synced to all that chaos. You walk into a church, a mosque, a temple, a park, and you're like, oh, it's so soft and like peaceful. Your brain synced to that. So your brain is syncing to things. When you go out with nature, nature is already in harmony. So when you're around something that's already in harmony, your brain syncs like that. That's why you can, how many times have we been inside an office, me, and you're like, I need to get outside. And you walk outside, and the minute you feel the sun, you're like, it just melted off, right? It's like your body physically connected to that energy, and your mind and your brain connected, and it can happen in seconds. And that's what we need to remember. Practice a foundation of meditation or whatever your morning and evening rituals are. And then throughout the day, reinforce it with these little things of going out and being with nature, being with things that are in harmony, and your body will respond very quickly. You don't always have to sit for 30 minutes and meditate 5 times a day. You don't.
Yeah, and that's what I love about what you and I have both discovered, is that these tools are so simple, really, really simple things that we can apply in the immediate situation. Like you and I laughed and we both had the same philosophy, because sometimes the only space you get is in the toilet or in the pantry, away from your children, or you've got a reason to hide, and you only need 5 to 10 minutes to ground yourself, center yourself, do those breathing activities that will release all those positive hormones.
And the more that you do that, the faster your body will respond. Truly, it will. Our bodies are amazing. I promise, I promise, I promise, I promise you are so much more powerful than you realize. You are not giving yourself enough credit. Give it a few simple tools every day. I believe in consistency and simplicity, and that will grow and pay off spades if you can be consistent. Find 1 or 2 things to practice each day. It could be a new belief system. It could be a meditation. It could be a positive statement. And if you are consistent, your body will reward you. I promise, promise, promise.
I do this talk where a really brief talk about stress management and talking about all those different hormones. And I did this talk to a group of high school students about stress management. And I said to them, do you know that there's a drugstore, there's a free drugstore in your brain? And suddenly they stopped talking amongst themselves and listen. I said, and by the end of the day, I'm going to give you a natural high. We're all going to have a natural high. And they're all, oh, what is she talking about? What's going on? And so then I did some laughter therapy at the end of the workshop with them, where I'm creating this. And again, where you're picking up on the energy of the space around you, where that contagious laughter, no reason to laugh other than to laugh because everybody else is laughing. And so that the high that you get from that, the release of the hormones, the endorphins and the dopamines when you're in a collective space, and picking up on that good energy. But it makes me laugh when I talk to them about this natural high. And like you said, when we've got it in our body, we've got this amazing resource, and it's so simple to tap into those little things once you know how.
We do not need to make things complex. We just don't. It does not. In fact, if it's hard, if it's too hard and it's complex, just stop.
Yeah.
I honestly, that's too much resistance, and that's not what you want. Alignment is not stress.
It should be simple, shouldn't it?
It should feel simple. And there's a difference between, pushing yourself and stretching yourself, something new, pushing some boundaries, moving beyond something you're a little nervous about, and fear and pain and anxiety. No, very, very, very big difference.
Yeah. So then where does sound come into this? Why has sound been so significant for you in this process of alignment and tapping into the resource that we have within our body?
Absolutely. So sound creates a vibration, and vibration moves through water faster than any other matter. What is our body made of? Over 70% water. So we respond to sound quickly. So it's like an accelerator. We have used sound our whole life, and we don't realize it. We use sound to pump ourselves up to go work out. We listen to sound to get excited to go to a concert. We use sound to calm us down in the evening, to help put a child or a baby to sleep. We sing, right? So sound is so powerful. If everyone were to put their hand on their chest and say like, ah, and say a few words, you feel a vibration. You using vibration to either help yourself heal and be in joy, or you're angry at someone, that anger is coming right back in you. And so I fell into sound healing because I had a very profound experience with it. I had a sound healing session. I was very stressed before. And 1 hour later, I was like, what just happened? I'm not stressed. I feel clear. And I just feel like I can manage the situation. And what it was explained to me was that the sounds and the tones are very grounding that were played, which is what I have. And so it did 2 things. It calmed down my nervous system. Your central nervous system is the central system to everything else in your body. So it started to slow and calm it down. And then the second thing it did was it connected to my brainwaves. Remember I said your brainwaves sync to everything? So it was syncing. And what was played is a hertz frequency. So we have brainwaves, and our brainwaves are measured in hertz, just like a music note. And when you play at a slow enough tone in frequency, that's what your brain aligns to. Think about it. If you were to listen to upbeat music right now, we would all get like really upbeat. Even if you're trying to psych yourself out, because your brain is like, it's agitating to that. When you slow it down, even if you're hyper and you hear calm music, you're kind of like start to calm down. So that's what sound does. So for me, I created music literally as my own medicine, and I use it as a consultant. I travel around the world and I listen to my music to help me calm down, to help me sleep. because it does it instantly. So I will literally put on a track for 2 minutes. I'm not kidding you, and go and sit in the bathroom on the toilet, and I put my headphones on and I'm like, just breathe. And I listen. And by the end of 2 minutes, I'm like, I can handle this. What's coming? I don't know. And I'm not sure how, but I'm not freaked out. So somehow we're going to work this out. Let me take one step at a time. Like, that's what it does. And then I've researched it and studied it for several years now. And so I dive deeper with people, whether they have high stress, whether they have disorders, whether they have diseases. And so I dive deep with them because I can use it to do more of a deeper transition to help your body physically or emotionally heal trauma, etc. Sound is so powerful.
One of the things that you and I talked about was that when I was pregnant, I went to prenatal yoga classes, and the teacher taught me how to do OMS. And I never thought that I would need them, but then I started practicing them, and where I loved doing them when I was driving down the freeway, when it was really that energy, that collective energy, stress, and I would do the OMS to help me mitigate that stress, so that when I got to my destination, I wasn't drained from all of that. And studying performance as well, where we could change where the vibration was in our body, so much so that that vibration would massage those internal organs or crack the sinuses in our, we could hear it go if we had the vibration up here. And it's so powerful to, sound can massage your body from the inside out, that tonal stuff.
You said two things that were really powerful. The first is we are giving off energy all the time. Like, physically, we are giving off energy. So when you put yourself in that state and you arrive in a place after being in traffic, if you put out frantic, frenetic energy, law of attraction, quantum physics is proven, that is what it's going to come back to. If you show up more grounded and soft and calm, if there's frantic energy, it's going to move because it can't resonate with you. So you will attract that softness. The second thing is absolutely, our body has different energy zones, meridians, chakras, endocrine system, whatever belief system you come from, every system will say there is something in there that's different. Your body has different energy zones. So when you play to that specific energy zone to reharmonize it, if it's either overactive or underactive, and you reharmonize it, you're going to hear crackling. You're going to feel a somatic change in your body. How powerful it is. It is powerful.
Somebody shared a video on social media the other day, and it really, I should see if I can find it and share it with you. It was a frog that was doing its chant, and it changed the tone of its chant, and it's sitting on water, and then you could see the vibrations of its chant in the water. And clearly, like you said, that's when nature is aligning. So that frog is changing its vibrational tone to get a different response to the world around it, a different reaction.
There is so much research out there when you look at water and when it's communicated and how it changes its vibration. We believe it is proven when the moon is full, the water in the earth rises. And you don't think your body has anything to do with that? And you're over 70% water? Like, it does. So you're spot on. So even simply looking at it from the element of water is so powerful. And when you see the frog, or when you see all of these studies where they use anger or love or calmness or aggression, and you see the water change, that's in you. Think about that. If you really understood how powerful you were, and how if you learned and practiced, it's a practice for all of us, to treat yourself kinder and be more gentle and compassionate with yourself, and that's the vibe you gave off, you would realize you don't need to give in to other people's drama and issues. I mean, imagine if you really understood that is how powerful you are, and that it didn't matter about any external circumstances. You could always come back to your center and take care of yourself and heal yourself. That's it.
And what I found too through the training that I've done, which is not dissimilar, is two things. Is that, like exactly what you said, you create a heightened awareness. So I love being stressed. I love the addiction. I'm addicted to it. And I think you said the same thing. I love the challenge and the adrenaline, and I love being like that. But I recognize that too much is not healthy. And my family used to tell me that I was stressed when I was really stressed. But because I hadn't burnt out or had a breakdown or had any of those side effects, I didn't recognize it. But since I've done that training, I have that heightened awareness of when I recognize when it's rising and I need to slow or stop. And so, yeah, it's so simple to be able to just change. But the other really where you can be really powerful, which is what you talked about, is influencing the world around you, influencing others. So, and when I started to learn that, that blew my mind. Simply changing the way that energetically what I was doing, how I could influence everybody around me to have a different effect.
Yes, it's so powerful. I think this one of my favorite you know, mantras or quotes, I should say, is you are one thought away from suffering or joy.
Yes.
It's your thought. Remember, your brain does not know the difference between a thought and an experience. So what are you thinking? What are you putting in your body? Is your thought about something from the past, or something about the future that you can't control, something about the present isn't working out the way you want, but you don't have full control over it? You keep thinking about that, great, stay in your suffering. Or you're one thought away from feeling happiness, from feeling joy. You choose where you want that thought to go. Therefore, you choose the energy and you choose the behavior and the action. You are creating your world and your environment. And as you practice it and you step more into the vibration that you want, you will notice things begin to shift in your life. You will notice people will show up differently. I promise. And sometimes we have blockages, myself included, and that's when you work with probably someone like you, Barbara, or someone like me, to help you release some of those. We are all so powerful, and there's so many things, going back to where we started this with, that you can do every day to begin to build your own foundation. And when you suddenly really have that aha moment, when you really get that, like, wow, I do actually create my own environment, I create my own life and my own thoughts, that's the practice and a path to enlightenment and freedom. Because then you are no longer dependent on any external circumstances.
And I love that you use the term enlightenment, because as you were speaking, I was just thinking about a Buddhist monk that I heard talk once. And he was this English guy that had become a Buddhist monk. And he used to be a what do you call it, like that, go out and have his beers and go out with the blokes, and he was a real yob, and he decided to study Buddhism and became a monk. And he was still working, and he was talking about his mentor and going to his mentor to get these lessons. And there was this man that he was working with that really drove him nuts, and he was talking to his Buddhist mentor about this man, and the Buddhist mentor said, you need to see things from his perspective, understand his energy, change your approach to it, change your energy, change your reflection. And he came back to the Buddhist monk and he said, he came back to his mentor and he said, oh, the man's changed. It's amazing. It's miraculous. This man's changed. And the mentor said, no, grasshopper, you have. You've changed what you're doing and your approach, which has changed him.
It absolutely is. And it's a continual practice. And it just, really realize that, like, it really is within you. That's amazing. And we all need a community to support us. We will remember, we will forget. We will remember, we will forget, right? That's life. And that's why I say it's a continual practice. But life is just so much more fun when you realize you hold the key.
Yeah. And that's like you said, it's in I love how you say that the body doesn't know the difference between a thought and the action and what's happening. Psychologists, you're talking about the choice between joy and suffering, and that it's a thought process that changes that. Everybody knows this adage of the glass half full or the glass half empty. It's the same amount of water. It's just how you look at it and your perspective of it. But now, once again, science is catching up to that approach. Psychologists have now recognized that the emotion that you experience and the sensations you experience between anxiety and excitement, they're on the same kind of level And it's just a choice about how you approach it. And I use the analogy of a roller coaster where you're going, wow, I'm excited. Oh my God, I'm going to die. Wow, I'm excited. Oh, I'm going to die. And simply changing the thought from one of anxiety to excitement can change the way that your situation changes.
A perfect analogy I love to give to people is, or especially to my clients when I'm working with them and we're focused specifically on that, is think about when you travel. Chances are when you go to a foreign country, you're a little bit more open. You're more forgiving of yourself. You and your friends, whoever you're with, your partner, you go outside and maybe you want to go find something, but it's never a straight shot. You end up going down a wrong left turn, right turn, you find some other things. Traditionally, when we travel, we're more open and we're so much more forgiving of ourselves. Well, we're trying, we're learning, we're in a foreign space. Why do we not have that mindset here? We expect so much perfection in life and in our four walls and in our job. What if you applied that lens to now where you are? Why not? Why does it only have to be when you're in a foreign country?
That's a great perspective.
It's all our perception. You could have carried that into a foreign country, but you chose your thought to see it differently.
Yeah.
Choose to see it differently now and watch how that will re-empower you to much more greater ease.
Awesome perspective. I'm just mindful of the time now, Chris. We could keep going on and on and on, but I know that you promised us that you would do some sound healing, like finish off with about 5 or 10 minutes of some sound healing with us. I'm really excited to see what you're going to bring to us. So what I'm going to do so that we can be focused on you, I'm going to turn my camera off so that I can enjoy it and so people can't see me. You just let me know when we're at that end of that experience, and I'll bring my camera back on to finish off. Yeah, sound okay?
Sounds excellent.
Awesome. All right, it's in your hands.
Wonderful. So a friendly reminder, some of you may or may not know, for sound healing, best results if you can, put on some headphones. Give you a moment to put on some headphones. Find a place to be comfortable and relax. Try and turn your phone on silence, no distractions. And just allow my voice to guide you in the beginning. I'll be silent and play. And when it's time to come out, I will bring you back out. I will say, welcome back. And so you'll hear me. So just trust I've got the space for you right now. So let's close our eyes, put on headphones if you have them, and take a slow, deep inhale with me. Just create the space together. Inhale and exhale. Beautiful. Go ahead and set a little intention for right now. What do you want these beautiful sound currents to do? And feel the vibrations in addition to listening. Use your breath to guide the energy you're feeling. Take deep inhales and exhales and think about all the wonderful things in life you appreciate and an intention for this sound journey. A very gentle welcome back. If your eyes are closed, keep them closed for a moment. The most powerful sound is silence. So just allow yourself to be in this space for a moment. Bring attention back to your breath, your body. Notice any tingling sensations, any vibrations. Very gently begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. Open and close your jaw. Help navigate the new energy that's moving through your body. Just allow my voice to guide you for about the next minute. I always like to explain sound healing is like a power yoga workout for your cells and tissues, right? So they're recalibrating, reharmonizing. So drink lots of water, even after 10 minutes. Hydrate. Do a little bit of stretching. Support that new energy that came in. Notice if you feel any different than you did a few minutes ago. And that's the power of sound. That's you coming back into alignment with you. I just put the sounds out there, but you needed to be open to receiving it. Energetically, I could definitely feel. Someone once asked me, why do I smile when I play? And I said, it's because I can feel the energy of the people that have opened themselves up. So if you feel a little tingling or vibration or even just a little different than you did before, thank yourself for being open to receiving that. And know for sure you push the reset button. And it can be that easy. It's supposed to be that easy. How do you feel, Barbara?
Amazing. I find it so fascinating. Even I know how powerful those singing bowls are when you're in the space and you can feel it. It's like when you're at a concert in front of the speakers and you can feel the vibration. But even listening to it through my really bad headphones, can still feel it and can hear the headphones crackling and hearing the way this technology is responding to the sound. Even that for me is fascinating. And for me, when I have my eyes closed, seeing the vibrations with my, I don't know about other people, but for me, I see things vibrating when I'm meditating with my eyes are closed. So it's just magical. Thank you so much. So powerful. Thank you so much. I'm going to finish here. I'm going to encourage, no one's asked us any questions here on the live, but that's fine. I expected there would be some observers and there's going to be some people watching this in replay. And for all of you who are watching this in replay, I will put details for Kristen's website underneath, the link to your Facebook page so that people can connect with you and if they want to and ask you questions. Of course, ask questions or share your experiences in the comments below from what you've learned, what you've heard and what you've experienced with the sound healing. So thank you so much, Kristen, for sharing. I just feel so for me and Alice Springs, I'm about to start my day. You're finishing your day. What a great positioning for us both, hey, with that.
Well, thank you for having me on. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It's such a pleasure. I always love talking to you, Barbara. It's so wonderful.
It's awesome. We'll have to do it again. We'll do it again.
Honored. Thank you. I would love it.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye. Take care.